being quiet. Welcome everybody, and this is Out of Sync Dylan coming to you live from his one of the rooms of his house, one of the darkened corners in this place in my home in Victoria, BC, Canada. This is week 4 or 5 of home stream / self-isolation, etc., etc., etc. So thank you for taking time out of your possibly working from home, possibly just home schedule to join me. I would also like to thank D&D for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. And I would also like to do shout outs to Erica and Sasha, who are helping co-produce and moderate this stream alongside me. Well, not aside me, virtually beside me, as well as Margaret, who will be joining me about halfway through the show after my guest. Some of you may read the Avengers. Some of you may read, Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. Some of you may have actually picked up a copy of the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus and seen some pretty cool contributors in this masthead with many other names, but story consultants. The always awesome, coming to us live from probably Toronto, Jim Zub. Welcome.
Thank you. Also, I just noticed now, it looks like we're in the same house because our rooms are the same colors here. Although you're in BC and I'm in Ontario on opposite ends, But thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. And thanks
also tucked into my little studio here and
producing so much D&D stuff. It's awesome.
Oh, thanks. Working on D&D is the greatest. It's the best feeling. So, absolute thrill. And it's been an incredible, run. We've been doing I've been doing the Dungeons and Dragons comic series since 5th edition launched in 2014, and then that got me in the door to working on other D&D stuff, like you were saying, doing some story consulting, and then doing the Dungeons and Dragons Young Adventurers guides last year. That series is continuing now as well, which has been an absolute thrill.
Is that one the omnibus that you were just showing me?
Oh no, this is called Days of Endless Adventure, and that is a collection of the first 3 stories of the D&D comic series. So that's
okay.
Yeah, Legends of Baldur's Gate, Shadows of the Vampire, and the third one, Frost Giant's Fury. And so that's just all 3 of them together in a really nice, cool package.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pick one of those up.
Yeah,
for some reason I thought it was a collection of the Young Adventurers guides. I'm like, wow, they put that out quick.
No, the Young Adventurers guides. Do I have one? I've got one here. Hold on, I'm gonna have to tuck off the camera really quick to grab them. They're right around the corner.
Yeah.
Wow. There we go. Yeah, the Young Adventurers guides, of course. These beauties. So
those are super cool.
Yeah, they turned out so nice. These little hardcovers that we made for new players. Here's the newest one, Wizards and Spells, which was originally supposed to be the final one. We were just going to do 4, but the series has done so well that they asked us if we wanted to do some more. So we've got 2 more in development.
Cool.
Really excited about.
What kind of content can we expect in the new ones?
So the 5th one's been announced, so I can talk about that one. It's called Beasts and Behemoths, and that one's another monster book. So we did Monsters and Creatures, which was, 40 different creatures from D&D canon told in they're organized in this book by location, and they're really beautiful all new artwork and
Yeah.
explaining how to use monsters in your stories and strategies and all sorts of stuff, just to introduce new players to the concepts of role-playing games.
Yeah.
And Beasts and Behemoths is 40 more creatures, but now they're organized by size. So we go all the way from the tiny size category in D&D all the way up to gargantuan and everything kind of in between. So
what monster that you didn't get to put in one of these already are you most looking forward to including?
Oh, that's a good question. We've got Death Knights in Beasts and Behemoths, which is really cool, and I love those guys. We've also got lycanthropes, so we've got all the werewolves and were-tigers and were-bears and all that kind of stuff. So
nice.
Those are good ones to have in there, and they're really staple D&D creatures that make every adventure that much more fun.
I notice you sneak like example characters, like in your you've put Shandy in one of the other books.
Yes,
which is where I learned what Shandy's last name was.
That's actually the first place that we used the last name.
Okay, good. It wasn't just me. I'm like, is this the first place? I'm like, I don't remember this being anywhere before.
No, so this is the thing, is that when we were developing the Young Adventures guides, we needed to have these sample characters, and I thought, well, they're all part of the same world and canon, and I'll indulge a little bit and have those characters show up. So you've got Minsk and Boo, and you've got Shandy, you've got Delina, Neris shows up in some of them as well. So it's just like the whole crew, putting them in the book is a really nice little touch, and it's sort of a nod to the comic stuff that I've done, but they work really well in terms of the characters as well in the D&D canon. So, and they're established elsewhere, so it's nice to have that little tie-in. Like, we've got ties to obviously Ravenloft in the books. We've got ties to some of the R.A. Salvatore novels and stuff like that. So it's good to be able to cross-pollinate some of the D&D kind of worlds and characters. Mordenkainen, the legendary wizard, is in there and stuff like that. So
cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I've only really got a chance to go through the first three, so I haven't really even browsed the first one yet.
Wizards and Spells was a really tough one, because you're trying to distill down so much different magical information and magic items and pick ones that are iconic and fun and strange. But it was a really cool challenge. And then we took some characters from existing materials, and then we also created some new legendary characters, which was a ton of fun as well.
Okay, I was going to ask about that, because there were definitely a few characters throughout those books that I didn't recognize. Like, there was a Kenku monk.
That was a new one that we made for it. Wow, I just forgot the name of the Kenku monk as well. Wushe. And that character was one created by Stacy King, who one of the co-writers with me. And we just wanted to have different race and class combinations than you might have seen before, because we realized that a lot of the classic characters, they fall into those kind of fantasy stereotypes. And we were like, D&D has so much flexibility in terms of race and class combinations. So what if we created some that people maybe haven't seen as much of before, and encourage them to mix and match more of those things together.
Cool. One of the players in chat wants to know if book 6 is going to be feats and features.
It's not, but I can't say what it is yet. I'm really excited about it. Book 6 is really, honestly, it sounds corny, but really special. Like, it's putting this series together has been such a joy, because it feels like I'm bringing it all full circle. I started playing D&D when I was 8 years old with my older brother, who was 12, and the creativity that it kind of ignited in me, and my excitement to tell stories and to build places and entertain my friends and family that I was playing with has never really stopped since then. I tell the D&D guys all the time, I'm a writer today because I think of Dungeons and Dragons, and not just on D&D stuff, but my Marvel work and other stories that I've written, and getting the chance to kind of create something specifically for that age group, and for any new player to try and hook myself all over again, to hook someone at that age and make it feel magical and exciting and engage them, and then to have it come out and we get, you know, the co-writers and I, Andrew and Stacy, and the team at Jetpack 7 who did the artwork, we get messages from people, kids clutching these books, you know, or they bought them at the book fair and they've got them and they're super pumped, or they're sitting at the table with their parents and the parents have the player's handbook and these kids have, you know, warriors and weapons sitting beside them at the table. That is so precious. Like, that is so special to me. People have sent us like photos of their kids' characters or dungeons that they've, you know, scrawled out on graph paper or stuff like that. And it just feels so amazing to know that we are bringing new players in the door and igniting their creativity, you know, in the way that D&D did for me, or giving them that portal to storytelling, you know, and the confidence that what's most important about the game is not highly technical rules or specifications, but your enthusiasm and your creativity to tell stories, you know, and your character idea that is going to create plot lines, or going to drive, you know, entertainment for everyone at the table. And that's always been at the core of my priority, and making a series of books that push that element of it, that say, don't worry about, someone at the table is going to tell you when to roll a d20. They're going to tell you when, you know, to do that stuff and how much damage you do. Like, we'll figure that out. But what I need you to have is your enthusiasm and your engagement, and that's going to make all the difference, you know. So
yeah, it's funny because like these days, I'm in my late 30s. All my friends are having kids. We just had our first, and I'm already like excited for what will be years from now. Like getting to play D&D with my kid. And I remember this is what we talked to Luke Gygax about it recently, because his eldest daughter is now 13.
Oh,
and
perfect.
and he said he was about to start 13 years of teenage daughters, because he's got 3 of them.
Wow,
but he was also
amazing.
starting them playing D&D, and he was so excited about it. And just having...
Well, and what I love bringing new players into the hobby, because it sounds really dorky, there's a purity to it. Someone's pure response to being told, you're the main character, what do you want to do? And they don't have even, you know, no matter how, like we're so used to being passive about our storytelling, that we're used to just watching a movie or reading a book and being told what is happening. And then someone says, no, what do you want to do? And you're like, what do you mean? Like anything. You tell me and we'll make a cool thing together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can see people when they finally get it, their eyes light up and they're like, what? Yeah, no, just go Buck. Let's have fun with this. You know what I mean? And there's nothing quite like it, because it's so different from any other kind of thing you've done. And it's not a board game, and it's not just pure, you know, what do you want to call it? Like make-believe. It's somewhere that crosses this cool line, and it empowers people, and it makes them, you know, excited to build things and create memories with their friends. And so I love new players, because you get to see that enthusiasm build very quickly, and they don't have preconceived notions in terms of how it has to go. You know, I've been playing since for a long time now. And so you can get caught up in what's called the metagame, you know, your rules and optimization. And according to this is how this is supposed to work. Like, well, we don't do that because it's a first level adventure. They wouldn't put a huge creature in there that would kill us. You know what I mean? And so you will do things that work in the metagame where you're like, well, I mean, it can't be any harder than this because it's only the 3rd encounter in the 2nd room or whatever. And so you can inadvertently kind of twist everything into this rules-centric approach, even if you don't mean to, even if you're trying to play it pure. But with new players, they don't assume anything. So if something looks dangerous, or you describe it in an exciting and dangerous way, they freak out. They're like, oh man, we're going to die. Or they respond really purely. They don't assume that every situation has to end in combat. They don't assume that they have to hoard all their treasure. And, you know, they don't search for secret doors. They don't check every square for traps. That, you know, it's a real pure experience. And as those first moments happen, as those exciting, they come up with cool, amazing problems, like solving problems in cool ways, and they innovate, and they constantly surprise me. I love that stuff, you know. And so bringing new people in and then giving them the tools to be able to appreciate what's going on, but they get to bring in their just outside kind of view. They're not caught up in assumptions about what the game needs to be or how it's supposed to be run. It can really add a lot of energy to the table. It can add a lot of sparkle to it. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, one of the players, I'm number 01. He says, Jim Zub, thank you so much. This book series was how I introduced my 8-year-old daughter to D&D, and it has been amazing.
It's the greatest. If you have any photos or anything, just tweet them at me. It's my pleasure. It honestly has been such a boon for us. When I get those kinds of pictures or stories, I always share them with everyone else on our team, and it's just a constant reminder why we did this, why we put this stuff together, and why it matters. You know what I mean? Because in the abstraction, I was like, this has a lot to do with my philosophy on role-playing games, but are people going to dig it? Is it going to actually break through, or are people just going to be like, wait a minute, this isn't a kid's player's handbook, it's something kind of different? You know what I mean? And I'm really thankful that the Wizards of the Coast team, particularly Shelley Mazanoble, Adam Lee, they were such they really got behind me, and they believed in the project and put a lot of kind of muscle to let us do the thing the way I'd kind of envisioned. And the fact that it's done well has been a real feather in my cap, that it's just an amazing opportunity. So and then alongside that, getting to do the D&D comic, making all sorts of cool characters, and now those characters are in other places, like the in the Dungeon Mayhem card game, and now Idle Champions, you can finally put together the full Baldur's Gate crew, which is kind of amazing. So
yeah, that reminds me, I need to add Neris. Can I afford it
Oh,
now? Yeah, I can. Yeah. I didn't have the money at the start.
Nice. Yeah, so it's so cool. I mean, Minsk and Boo obviously existed from the Baldur's Gate video games, but the rest of those characters were created by Max Dunbar and I, for the comic series. And so seeing them continue in all these cool places and their story, growing and changing, has been an absolute joy. And now, I'd like to keep them around for a long time and have them show up in all sorts of cool places.
How does it feel for you creating new characters versus taking over characters like Minsk and Boo, who have been in video games and then before that were somebody else's characters?
I mean, it's nice. Both of those experiences are really fun. Like working on Marvel stuff, or writing Minsk and Boo, or writing Samurai Jack. I've done a lot of stuff with established worlds, and so there's definitely a nostalgia, element to it, where you get to bring some of yourself into that mix while trying to be respectful of what has come before, and that's the weird balancing act is when I'm doing a superhero thing at Marvel, I want to be aware of character continuity and what's happened previous to this. I want to read up on those characters, but I can't just trap them in amber and never have them change. You have to push them in some direction. You have to challenge them, otherwise it becomes really boring. And so part of my goal is to go, okay, this is what's come before, this is the road taken, where could that lead that creates interesting story potential? Where is the emotional content? What can I put these characters up against that makes it interesting to see the results? And it's not a formula. You can't just plug in numbers and spit out drama and emotion. You have to it's a bit of instinct and a bit of brainstorming and a bit of almost hubris to go, well, I think I know where the Scarlet Witch's story should go from here, or any of these characters, long running characters who've been around for decades in some cases, but having a clear sense of why you're doing it, and being able to not only convince the editors, but hopefully to be able to get the readers on side and get them excited about what's to come. Having the established characters is potent because there's established material for you to research and for you to dig into and to understand. Whereas original characters, it's all open, and that's sort of scary in some ways because it's all up to you. And if you screw it up, you're like, well, no, I can't even blame anyone else because I'm not building on someone else's foundation. I'm putting it all into place.
Yeah.
So
on that note, Do you have a character that has stood out for you as the most daunting one to take on, who has a legacy that is a
That's
real
a good
challenge to
question.
write for?
The first time I wrote Captain America, I found it really difficult. He appeared in an issue of Uncanny Avengers that I did, and writing Steve Rogers is tough because he is this paragon. He's the best of us, and he believes in us and what we're capable of, and he leads others and tries to aspire. He doesn't like have to put on airs. He just is that right person at the right time.
Yeah.
And the dialogue that comes out of his mouth from almost any other character would seem too much. It would seem too aspirational, too positive, too hopeful. But for some reason, when Steve Rogers says it, it's the right thing at the right moment. And so you kind of have this weird thing where you're like, you have to toe this crazy line of aspirational and optimistic and uplifting, but not corny. You know what I mean? And somehow hold it in so that it's not over the top that people are like, oh, it's hokey. And yet he's going to take it right to that moment, right to that line, as close as you can get it, which is cool. And it's a fun thing to sort of, when I write these characters, I explain to you, I literally am role playing. I'm literally sitting down and I say, okay, these characters are the ones in the scene. How do they feel about each other? Where's the friction? What kind of dialogue, or what can we do to make this interesting? And how do they see each other? You know, do they respect each other? Are they jealous of each other? Are they romantically inclined? Or like, whatever those feelings are, those are going to drive the role play between these characters, even if one of them doesn't know the way the other person feels. And that's going to create its own kind of cool friction. So for me, it all comes back to tabletop role-playing games. It really does. It's one of the reasons why I love writing teams, is because you get all those dynamics. Mm-hmm. I have not written a solo superhero book yet. Every book I seem to get at Marvel is a team book. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, man, they're really boxing me in, but it's not a bad thing. It gives you so many pieces to play with and so many elements to kind of smash into each other and see what sparks. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy the interplay between all the characters, and I think that it shows in the books that I've written. And that's true of the Baldur's Gate book as well. I love that the D&D cast is a weird mix-up of characters. I purposefully I didn't want to have fighter, wizard, cleric, thief kind of thing. I wanted it to feel like the parties that I've played in actual tabletop are always these oblong, strange combinations of characters. So this idea of having a ranger, a wild mage, 2 rogues, and a cleric of death, you're just like, what? Like, why? This is not a well-balanced party. And it's like, yeah, most aren't, you know what I mean? Yeah. And the Neris, the cleric, isn't even part of the group in the first trade paperback, and one of the jokes they make on the last page is, man, we really need a healer. and they get one in the next story, but not the way they expect. She's not just going to be this serene, soft, the cliche of the cleric, oh, where's your boo-boo, I'll take care of it, or whatever. She's hard as nails, and she's a death cleric. If anything, she's sort of like, okay, is it your time? Well, no, not yet, you've got other things you got to do. And I like that. I like that the group is weird. I like that the group feels unbalanced and bizarre, because that feels to me like D&D. D&D is less than ideal characters in less than ideal circumstances, making the best of it. To me, Dungeons and Dragons is not high fantasy, your Lord of the Rings style characters of destiny and all that kind of stuff. It's low fantasy. It's like pulpy and strange and kooky, mm-hmm. and mercenary and survivalist and all that kind of stuff. That's what makes it so funny. I described to a friend, I said, it's just like D&D is 5 idiots go in a hole, like they go into a dungeon and they get into trouble. and that's what is going to happen. How are they going to get out? I don't know. It's we're going to find out as we play. That's the joy of it for me.
Taking this back to D&D, somebody earlier in chat said that they had asked Max Dunbar about what Minsk's spell list was, and he said that you have to answer it.
Yes.
That he had his assumptions about Minsk having jump, speak with animals, and other non-flashy spells. So
so we made a character sheet for Minsk. It's in Frost Giant's Fury. Let me pull it up here. Adam Lee and I actually made the character sheet, so I can look it up and tell you exactly what he's got. And you're pretty close, if I recall. Here we go. He's got animal friendship, hunter's mark, long strider, speak with animals, animal messenger, and beast sense. And so it's all just like getting along with animals and
talking to Boo.
Yeah, kicking butt and talking to Boo. And so he doesn't have anything flashy. He's not going to be doing. You could never see him casting spells in the traditional sense. It's very much like an instinctive thing that just kind of happens because he needs to talk to this squirrel or whatever, or he needs to engage with this deer, or like stuff happens around him. Even the way we describe some of his powers are pretty great. So he's got natural explorer, and it says under natural explorer, Minsk does not get hampered by the hampering things. And he takes extra attack, and it says more attacks means more smiting. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. It's really a cute character sheet, and it's full of kind of in jokes in and of itself. The character breaks rules in some ways. His character sheet is not quite canon. He has 3 inspiration points, and you're only ever supposed to have 1.
Yeah.
But that was, again, like a weird inside joke. Like Minsk just sort of charges in and does what he needs to do.
So is this the character sheet that you used at the Descent last year?
That is.
Game?
So that's the exact character sheet I used at the Descent. So it was nice to already have him pre-built and ready to go. I think the only thing that we added to him that wasn't on the sheet was I when I realized we were going to be playing the Descent and going to hell, I asked Chris Perkins if I could have a magic sword, because otherwise I wasn't going to be able to hit any demons, because they're all you need to have an enchanted weapon in order to kill any devils or demons. And Perkins was like, sure. Not, he wasn't going to tell me that we were barely going to do any combat. It was all just going to be this
I'm going to
torturous
crash your vehicle first thing, and you're all going to be dead.
Oh man, that was such an insane session. It's insane to me that that's been almost a year since that game.
Yeah, your hair has made a mighty return.
Oh man, it was back in like 3 months. I grow hair crazy fast. Yeah, that was one of the best convention experiences of my life, and one of the best birthdays, because with the night we played that game, that was my birthday that day. And so it was just like the craziest birthday I could have imagined. I'm sitting on stage with like Deborah Ann Wall and Matt Mercer and all, Anna Prosser and all these amazing people, and we're just like dorking out and on a live stream for tens of thousands of people after I shaved my head and got made up as Minsk. One of my favorite moments was actually before the live stream started. I didn't tell people beforehand who I was going to be playing or what I was going to be doing. I got all done up, costume and the makeup and the shaved head and the whole 10 yards. I looked friggin' great. And we had to do the makeup about an hour before the live stream because we wanted to have enough time to get everyone ready. So I'm walking around backstage doing the Minsk walk and, posing for photos with the staff. And they've been told not to send it out on social media until the game starts.
Yeah.
I sent my brother, I texted my brother and I sent him a photo. It's on his phone. He didn't look closely at it. So he just goes, "Oh, that's a cool Minsk cosplayer." And then I text him again and I said, "Look closer." And he goes, "Oh my God, it's you." And I said, "You better tune into the live stream. It's going to be wild."
Yeah. The power is going to go out.
Yeah, who knows what crazy stuff's going to happen. It was the wildest time. And Max Dunbar was in the audience and Stacy was in the audience. And it was just like everyone was pumped. And the other games they had done previously had gotten so much momentum and so much excitement. So everyone was in just the best headspace for it.
Yeah.
And Chris just, eking out every little bit of drama and twisting the thumb screws with great aplomb,
Well, how sufficiently intimidating is it to have the game start and for him to get the first player to roll a d20 and then tell them that's their health total?
It was masterful, like I knew that Chris was an amazing live DM, and it's a different thing. Like I try and explain this to people. Playing on that stage and playing streaming games is different from playing at the table with your friends, right? because there is a more performative aspect. Obviously, I want to entertain my players and I want to be the best dungeon master I can be, but I can also go get a snack and we can take a break and I can look up rules. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're on stage or you're on a stream live, you're doing it in one pass. You're doing it on the spot. You're making much more decisive choices about narrative and emotion and character.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be in this heightened state of awareness. And we're doing what was like a 3-hour game or something. Like, it was bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the whole time. You're engaging with each other and you're paying attention to everyone else, and you're looking for opportunities for in jokes and pickups and little things, and waiting for your moment and trying not to overwhelm anyone else by talking over them or any of that stuff. And Chris just seems so cool through the whole thing, and he's just so laid back, and he's just crushing us with unexpected, decisions in a way that the crowd's responding to, and he's picking up on what's working and then just twisting it even further.
Yeah.
And Matt is obviously a brilliant dungeon master, and then he's kind of aware of Chris, and they're riffing on each other really in amazing ways. And I'm just swept up in the whole thing, trying not to embarrass myself, because this is my first live game and I'm in costume on stage. Like,
yeah,
what a crazy night.
So
so wonderful.
Will we see a return of Minsk and Boo on a D&D live stream?
I would love to, man. Like, we were hoping to, D&D Live, there were some messages flying around about possibilities several months ago. And then, of course, everything's kind of gone off the rails now.
That's a little different.
Well, the world's in a whole different place. My summer plans are all different from, we had 7 different conventions I was booked for, and we had booked a lot of tickets, and convention stuff has all been, worked now. Like 2020 just seems like it's going to be the lost year of con, but it is what it is. But yeah, I would love to do more streaming stuff. I was talking to some of the other gang at Wizards, and I was in touch with actually B. Dave Walters and I are doing we're doing a live stream thing on Sunday. This cool. Sunday we're going to be doing a live stream. He calls it one-on-one shots. And so he runs a game with one other person. He's the game master, storyteller, whatever you want to may have it. And you play the game with him, but you're also talking about how you got into the hobby and what kinds of things influence you. You know what I mean? So he just did one with Matthew Lillard last weekend, and I'm his second guest he's doing for that. And we haven't announced yet what game we're playing or what character I'm playing. But I think that gets revealed tomorrow, actually. So that should be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
On the note of which character, somebody asked, who was your first D&D character?
My first D&D character was, Red Box set D&D. I'm 8 years old. This is the early 80s. I made a dwarf, and in old basic D&D, dwarf was the character class and race. It was just one thing. Mm-hmm. I made a dwarf called Rolf. And he's called Rolf because in the Red Box, they say suggested dwarf names, and that's one of them. And I'm like, well, if it's a suggested one, that's the one I should use. So he's this little dwarf called Rolf, and he went on his first adventure. And I became obsessed with the idea that Rolf was going to become a high-level character and have his own dwarven army. Mm-hmm. And so I had a long sheet of foolscap paper, and every time I would beat any creatures, goblins or kobolds or orcs or anything, I would take all their equipment and write it down, because I was keeping all of it to outfit my army so I didn't have to buy stuff for them. So by the time he was like 3rd level, Rolf had like 30 spears and 80 daggers and 12 suits of chainmail and studded armor, and I just kept track of everything. And then my brother, he was reading the books but not really keeping track of it all, he kept reading the books as we were playing. In between sessions he would continue to read the rules, and then he comes back to me and he goes, oh, there's this thing called encumbrance. You can't carry all that stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, you can't, there's no way for you to carry all that stuff. And I was like, I earned it, it's mine. And so he made me buy like a wagon and a pair of donkeys to drag around all this garbage that I had for my character. And that was my first D&D character, Rolf. And so that's why the dwarf in Skull Kickers is called Rolf, is because that's a riff on he's not the same character, but he's, it's a nod.
There's a
to
cart in the background with a bunch of weapons.
Yeah, he's got his armor. No, the Rolf in Skull Kickers is a much more violent and mercenary character than well, that's not entirely. So, I mean, Rolf, the original Rolf, did do some pretty ridiculously evil things because I didn't understand the alignments and how stuff worked, and it just felt like a video game at first. So you were like, well, I'll just, I killed that thing, and they're like, well, did you know that one was evil? And you're like, oh, I didn't really check. Oops, so like just sort of stuff like that. But Rolf wasn't really, I wasn't really role playing. Like I was, rolling the dice and we were filling out the map, but I wouldn't say he was much of a personality to the character. The first character I remember that had an actual real personality was I made a paladin, and he had the dorkiest name ever. His character name was Victory Lion. I mean, I was 8 years old, right? And he was a really good character, because I had a character who died because my brother and I had an argument about whether or not, the character was evil. And so I said, fine, I'll make a super good character. Tell me what the goodest character is. And that was like the paladin. Okay, I'll make a paladin because they have to be lawful good. And then my brother would tell me things like, you have to tithe, a certain amount of your treasure to the church. And I was like, fine, I'll do it because I'm a good guy and that's what good guys do. And my brother would just like twist the thumb screws to make me do good things. And I was like full gung-ho. And one of my favorite adventures, we were fighting a bunch of creatures, and my brother was finally starting to get more into the storytelling and do more interesting things with combat instead of just roll initiative and smash together. And so we had that these people were trying to escape and these monsters were chasing after us. And I said, well, I will stand against the creatures so that everyone else can escape. And my brother goes, well, there's like 10 of those creatures and you're by yourself. You'll just get slaughtered. And I'm like, but that's what a paladin would do. And my brother goes, whoa, you're a good guy. I'm like, that's right, I am a good guy. And so he had like, I got blessed by my deity or whatever, and I had protection from evil, and it was this cool epic moment, and I felt like a total badass. And that felt like the first moment I was playing a specific personality of a character, not just a murder robot, you know what I mean? So it was a cool moment. Yeah.
And it's hard not to be a murder robot sometimes while you're playing a game, because so much of it is gamified, like your storytelling, but it's like, that the incentive to, you're like, well, I could kill that guy because he's got a sword that's like blue for some reason, and I don't have one that's that cool. So,
I think part of that is it's incumbent on the dungeon master to create scenarios where they're willing to give you XP for solving a problem, regardless of how you solve it, and rewarding you for doing things that are character centric rather than, kill centric. Like that's all there is to it, right? So. One of the weirdest experiences for me, so a bunch of my friends, including Stacy and Andrew, who do the Young Adventures guides with me, we have a D&D group together called the Danger Dice Gang. We do an audio podcast, and I run games where I'm taking some of my favorite old first edition modules, and I'm running it through 5th edition with their characters, and realizing my memories of those adventures is sometimes quite different from reality, and also realizing that the way we tell stories and the way we play now is so different from the way those dungeons were designed. You know what I mean? And some of those dungeons are labyrinthian and really, when you were going through it, when I was going through it as a kid and I was filling out the graph paper and going room to room, it was always very exciting to me. But doing this is just so repetitious. And if it's not story centric, you're like, why are we doing this? Why are we kicking down every door and checking every square inch of this place? You know what I mean? And so I just realized that my tastes have changed, and I need to use those dungeons as ways to inject more story into it. So as we've gone along, the first couple of adventures are funny because I'm trying to run 1st edition style D&D, and they're playing these bombastic, over the top personalities that are very kind of, current D&D. And the way that does not work together becomes a lot of the humor. And then later on, I start to tilt more of the adventures where I'm putting more of the story bent into it. And we're all kind of, throwing in stuff. So it's been interesting even feeling my own, the changing kind of taste in the thing, and now I've got 100 ideas that when we wrap up this campaign and I'm going to run a pure kind of 5th edition campaign, what shape that'll take and how I'm going to take a much more story centric approach to it.
Yeah. Let's see. I want to actually get through some of the questions.
No, sorry, I've just been rambling.
No, it's good, and when it's tied to it, it's good. Because one player is like, "How was it playing Minsk to Matt Mercer's Boo?" Which
it was great. I mean, Matt. That was the first time I met Matt. We met like 3 hours before the game. We'd emailed back and forth, and I'd social media'd with him several times, but we'd never met in person. And so it was this weird thing where backstage, he just shows up with some, his crew, and we just chatted for a little bit. And I said, the original thing was, Chris asked us on an email if I would play Minsk and he would play Boo. We both said, sounds great. And then there was an email thread going around about makeup and costuming. And the makeup woman sort of misinterpreted one of the emails where Greg Tito was joking and saying, "Oh, and you're going to shave Jim's head." And she's like, "No problem. Here's how we'll do it. And here's how it'll work." And then Greg goes, "No, I was being sarcastic. We're not really going to shave Jim's head." And then I can't remember who it was. Might have been Shelley or someone said, "But what if you did?" And I was like, and they were like, "No, don't put pressure on Jim to do that." And then I thought about it and I was like, my hair grows back really fast. And that'd be, I almost felt like I'm on stage with all these, kind of nerd celebrities. I'm in the grand scheme of thing, everyone at the table, I'm the least well known, particularly in the streaming space. I kind of need to do something to level up to like make an impression. And so I said, I'll shave my head if Matt is there so we can film it for social media. And Matt responds like 30 seconds later, yes. I was like, great. Okay, we're doing it. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, crap, I'm locked in for this now. We're really doing this. And it was great. It was tons of fun. It was very aerodynamic. And it worked out well. And keeping it a secret was a lot of fun. And then having the big reveal. And a bunch of people thought I had a bald cap or something because it just seemed so crazy that I had done that. But there we were. It was tons of fun. And Matt is just such a good... So one of my students, I teach at an art college here in Toronto, and I didn't realize, I know on some level D&D is huge, with 20 somethings, but I didn't realize to what extent. Yeah. Like a whole host of my students had been Critical Role junkies and I wasn't aware. They knew I did some D&D stuff, but I didn't think they realized until that announcement that I was doing the live stream game and I was going to be in California for Descent and all that. They didn't realize to what extent. And I didn't talk about it that much in class because we focused on other things and I'm not there to sell them my stuff. Yeah. And I get back from the event and my students were just boggled. First of all, I had a shaved head and they were just like, holy crap, we watched the stream. We literally had it on one of the TVs in the lab, at the school, and they were howling and freaking out. And one of the students, she comes to me and she's super nervous and she goes, is Matt as nice as he seems? Because I've heard stories about celebrities they seem really nice, but then behind the scenes they're kind of awful or they're really fake. Yeah. And I was like, actually, he is exactly the person that you see. He really is. He's very warm and welcoming and friendly and kind. And it's not a put on at all, I saw him all weekend there just hanging out and being cool with strangers and cool with old friends. And there's a difference when someone talks to you and they ask, how are you doing? But what they really want is they want to tell you how they're doing. And they're just waiting for you to get done saying whatever you're going to say. And when someone says, how are you? And they listen and they care about every word, that is not something you can put on. And Matt was just like engaged, like he would talk to people and he would engage with them and be really warm and caring. And so when we were talking, he's like, you haven't done this sort of stuff before. Do you have any questions? I'll give you lots of openings and opportunities to be funny. And it was like, great. Everyone was awesome. You know what I mean? And he picks up, he's been doing the streaming stuff for so long as the dungeon master. He's got just a great sense of entertainment. He can tell when it's a good moment to lean into it and when it's like someone else's time to shine. And that's a hard thing to learn, So he's awesome. It was a ton of fun.
I'm curious because I've noticed something every time I see him in person. It's like, I swear he gravitates towards where air vents are so that his hair can flutter. And I was just wondering if his chair at the table was also marked. I don't know.
That would have been amazing.
Because he has this knack for sitting in a spot and then his hair is moving in the breeze.
He does have brilliant hair. Yeah. I was sweating up there. The spotlight was on the top of my balding head. No, I haven't specifically noticed that, that he was looking for the wind or anything, but it was, he's a beautiful man, it was great. No, our whole crew up there just had so much, and it was crazy because most of us had never played before, and we just had a great spark at the table and riffing on each other in unexpected and kooky ways, and that's the joy of D&D for me in so many ways is not just to carry out a story, but to provoke excitement with each other and the unexpected and the improvisation that happens in those moments. And when you can get the perfect in-joke or the callback that no one saw coming, that you didn't know was going to happen until you saw that moment, and you just grab it with both hands and realize it's the right thing to say, and everyone at the table bursts out laughing. In this case, the entire auditorium bursts out laughing, or triumphant moments like, Chris did that double disadvantage thing.
That was pretty awesome.
It was the most insane thing. Like, I can't adequately explain to you. Again, he seems to be coming up with this stuff either on the fly or he's built it very carefully. None of us knew what was coming. And he tells me I have to roll double disadvantage. I have to roll 3 dice and take the lowest of 3. And I'm like, just losing my mind. And I roll the dice and I pull it off, and the whole crowd just roars. And I'm like, it's an auditorium. I feel it like hit you, the sound. And I was like, oh, it's amazing. And I do the role play of me climbing this cliff, and Perkins is totally into it. And he goes, and you make it halfway up. All right, now you got to do the second half. Same thing again. And the whole crowd, it's like he took us and triumphantly and then just dropped us into the depths again. And he's like, you got to do it again. And you're like, oh my God. And now the tension's really rising, and everyone's looking at me, and everyone at the table is looking in at me, and I'm rolling these dice and I could feel my hands shaking. Like, this should not be this tense. It's just a game, right? But you're into it, and the crowd's into it. And I make that second roll, and the sound guys had a little music thing go, and the camera pulls back, and I roar, and man, it was bonkers. It was one of the coolest moments,
Speaking of cool moments, how much did you love Boo's double finger swan dive?
The greatest. What made it even more special was Max Dunbar was in the audience, and he sketched it out, that moment, and then posted it on Twitter later. It was so awesome. Yeah, everyone was just being cool. Everyone was just being fun and up for whatever. You can't adequately describe it, honestly. I went to bed that night, and like, we finished the game up, and we do all the teardown and everything, and I gotta clean all this makeup off, and by the time I get done, you don't realize you've been adrenalized for hours on end. So by the time you finish, you're weirdly exhausted, and we need to grab food, and when it was pretty late by the time we got out of the theater, we make it back to our hotel and drop stuff off, and then I was like, I just want to grab dinner at the bar here at the hotel. And Chris and Jeremy Crawford and a bunch of people were there just hanging out, and we just grabbed a drink, and I was really quiet. Everyone was chatting, and they pat me on the back and congratulated me and everything else, and I barely talked because I was just sort of like wiped out and just kind of taking it all in, like this weird warm afterglow of what the hell was that. And went to bed that night, and my wife just looked at me and she's like, you were so happy up there. Like, I was so thrilled to be there watching you be a big kid, and have that moment. Like it was felt like a victory lap. It was very cool for all the work we'd been putting into things over the past few years, and then to have people respond so strongly to it. It was funny too. Some of my Marvel editors didn't realize that they knew I'd done some D&D stuff, but they didn't realize I was so crazy about it and part of this community. And, the link got passed around the Marvel office and people were like, I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, yeah, it was one of the best things I've ever done. It was one of the best convention experiences I've ever had. Like, I'm not embarrassed by it in the slightest. Like, I wish everyone could have those kinds of experiences, spending time with each other and being heroic and ridiculous and fun. You know what I mean? That's why we do this stuff. Yeah. And, we now thankfully live in a culture where the nerd stuff is now nothing to be ashamed of. That going to conventions is not some weird social thing. It's triumphant and it's to be celebrated, And so I can't, oh, you're a weirdo because you shave your head. Why? Because I had a lot of fun. It grows back. It was great. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I'm thrilled that I get to make this my career, for crying out loud. That making myself laugh and making other people happy is part and parcel of what I get to do. So it's unfriggin' believable.
One of our regulars in chat, Evil Emperor Zerg, says that you and Matt were his favorites at the table, and seeing Minsk and Boo played live was completely unexpected and filled him with joy.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I was intimidated because, I didn't come up with the character. And although I've written him a lot and his dialogue, coming up with that cadence, the way he speaks it takes a bit of work on the comic page as I'm writing scripts. And this time I had to be improvisational about it. I had a bunch of the dialogue from the games I had downloaded, and I just put it on my phone, and I was listening to it on the flight to LA. And I would I would sort of read them back, just to get a feel for it. Not because I wanted to repeat the lines from the game, but just to kind of internalize how the character speaks again. Because I wanted to get it right, because it's an established character that has a fan base, in a sense. He's a cult character that has just grown in terms of his reputation over the years. So I wanted to do it right. And I just, even though it's just a dorky, press event at the live game and all this, it meant a lot to me to do it well. And when people say that was a big part of the weekend, or they really loved it, or the next day, like up till that point, most people didn't know what I looked like. They might have read the D&D comics, or they might have, seen my little avatar on Twitter, but they didn't necessarily put a face to a name.
Yeah.
And so I was like walking around with Matt or with Perkins or whatever, and people were getting their books signed and stuff like that. And I would just stand off to one side. And sometimes they would say, oh, gee, have you met Jim? And then they would say, oh, Jim Zub. And they go, oh, you're Jim Zub. And that was cool. But the next day it was like people were like rushing over to me, and they were wanting to grab a photo with me, or, get me to sign their books or stuff. And that felt really weird, like amazing, because it was real in a sense, in a way that it hadn't been before. And that was before the Young Adventurers guides had launched. And, this year, one of the things I was really excited about was to go to conventions and to see people with those books. And that'll have to be, delayed for a while, but I'm still pumped to see our young readers and to meet them and to see them, with those books, and encourage as many people as possible to dive into their own kind of adventures and heroic stories.
One of our players actually earlier in chat said that as a dungeon master, they would legitimately classify monsters and creatures as a book that would be permissible for an in-game PC character to have.
Yes. Yeah. I'd heard that from someone else. They told me that what they did is they gave it to a young group of players, and they said that it was like a lore book from an old hunter. And so they could use it in the game as like, to give them tips. And he said at first he was worried about that it could become too much of a crutch, that they would only follow the strategies in there. But what he wanted them to do was to learn things, and then he would introduce creatures that weren't in the book, and they would kind of write their own entries. And I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Very, very creative. You know what I mean? Yeah. Adam Lee. Have you ever met Adam?
I don't know that I have met Adam Lee.
Man,
I don't think so.
He does a lot of story and narrative stuff at Wizards. He was one of the guys who's early on. He was helping to approve the scripts I was doing for the comics, and he kind of told the rest of the Wizards crew, like, this guy's really into it. He's really obsessed, and he's a good resource for us. And he brought me in he was the lead developer on Descent into Avernus, and so he brought me in to do the story consultation on that. And through him, I got to really, really get to know the rest of the people at the office. And so he was also the person, as far as I know, who brought my name up about the product that would eventually become the Young Adventurers Guides. And so I owe Adam so much, because he has boundless enthusiasm for this stuff as well. And when we get together and start talking, we can't stop. We're just like electric about all these things. And when he told me about this idea of, we're going to make this product, and originally it was like maybe one book for 8-year-olds, how to introduce them to the precepts of role playing. And we just started riffing on what could be and how you could do it, and how colorful and amazing it could be. And I think our momentum just sort of like plowed through any barriers. Like, we just overwhelmed the other people in the process, and just sort of said, here's why it's going to work, and we're confident, and we know what this thing needs to be. And that was just the best feeling, and to have it work, the way we planned is really cool. The books are being released in multiple languages now. So
cool.
There's I want to get this right. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I've actually got them all listed on my website. So I know they're in French, but they're in multiple other languages as well, and more coming, which is also a huge, kind of boon. So we've got, so they're in German, they're in French, they're in Portuguese and Russian, which is kind of crazy. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so pumped to see those out in the world. You know what I mean? So like, one of the photos I've got is this little girl holding the French editions, and she just looks like so joyous at the table, and I'm just like, man,
that's so cool.
This is the weirdest thing.
Huh.
The Rick and Morty D&D stuff. Last year I went to Paris. My wife and I went to Paris Comic-Con, and they launched the French edition of the Rick and Morty D&D book that I did with Pat Rothfuss and Troy Little. And the translator came over, and we got a great photo of the translator of the book, and he was telling me how hard the book was to translate, because there's so many weird puns and in-jokes and like strange turns of a phrase that don't carry over. Or one of the things he did, he went above and beyond the Call of Duty. We were calling out specific old D&D stuff in the game, like in the comic. And he went and found the original French translations of those books and made sure he used the same quotes in the same spots.
Wow, that's some dedication.
To the first edition French role-playing books, it will all line up the same way.
Wow.
And he was hardcore in a good way. Like, he was super into it.
Yeah, and that's why he has that job.
Right? And he actually just emailed me a couple days ago, because they're doing, it's been announced, but they're doing the French edition of the second book, the Rick and Morty D&D 2. And he was asking me specifically, like, some really in-depth questions about translation, like, where does this come from? And I was trying to explain to him Planescape, the setting and all this kind of stuff, like, so he was going to have to do more digging into old French. I don't even know if that stuff got translated in French. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, it's been around for a long time, so...
Yeah, early. I think Planescape launched in 94? Sounds maybe 93. Yeah,
it was a while ago.
So
yeah,
a little while ago.
It's vague. It's vague for me. I was a teenager.
So,
no. Just because we're getting close to the end of the hour here, I got one more question for you from Max Dunbar.
How
has Victory Lion not shown up in any of your comics?
Max, what are you doing, buddy? You should be drawing pages. No, I don't. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I don't know that a regular reader would think that name was cool. I think they would just think it was corny. But he'll have to show up at some point. I can't tell you here on the channel, but there is a thing I'm working on where there is a nod to Victory Lion, actually. On an unannounced project, I actually found a way to work in this lion motif that wasn't there before, and that is no word of a lie, an actual nod to Victory Lion. Krydle, now, the whole reason we got together to do the stream
the guy we haven't talked about at all.
I know. Krydle is based on a bard character that I played in 2nd edition D&D. So he's a bard in the sense he's a performer. So the original Krydle was a juggler and an acrobat, and that was his performance. So he was a bard, but he wasn't a singer or a poet. He was this acrobat who always had knives, and he was juggling items, and he would steal from people and incorporate it into his juggling, and then throw a knife at a bad guy or whatever. Yeah. And so he was a fast talker, scoundrel with a heart of gold, and I really liked that. And that was a character I played with my brother as the dungeon master. And so I loved the name, and I always kept that name around, but I only used it for that one character, and I wanted to use it later on. And then when I finally had the chance, the Legends of Baldur's Gate was my first official D&D project. And I was like, well, if there's a time to be indulgent, now is the time. So I use that name for this scoundrel with a heart of gold, but who's now more a pure rogue. Although that being said, I think I said he was going to be in the original documentation, I said he was going to be a rogue bard multi-class. And one of the pictures that Max drew early on, he's holding an instrument. I think he's holding like a lute or something. And we never ended up using that in the actual story.
Interesting.
But
well, there's always time.
Yeah. But it was interesting. So to answer your question, Max, Victory Lion will be making an interesting kind of appearance in a future project that I do, but not quite the way you might expect. I'll let you in on it though off chat. So.
Cool. Yeah. Is there anything you want to plug? Because it's 2:00 my time, so I know we're getting to the end of our time together.
Dungeons and Dragons, the Young Adventurers Guides, the Days of Endless Adventure. If you haven't read the D&D comics, this is your big hit. This is 15 issues all jammed together in one beautiful book. Max Dunbar does some stunning artwork. We've also got other artists here as well who are delivering on the mix. Netho Diaz and you've also got Nelson Daniel do an amazing job on this. Shadows of the Vampires, the second one, and that takes place in Ravenloft. So if you can imagine the Baldur's Gate heroes getting trapped in the demi-plane of dread, it is an absolute blast. I had so much fun putting these together. This is like a big, it feels so cool to have it all in one place, like this big chunk of book. And so people can really dive into it. The current D&D miniseries is called Infernal Tides, and that actually ties in with content from Descent into Avernus, but you don't have to have read that adventure or know it in order to enjoy it. Max is genuinely drawing the best pages of his career, and I would say that even if he wasn't lurking right now, working with him and working with the rest of the team has been just pure joy. They're so into it, and they want to get the details right, and they want to make this bombastic and fun adventure, and that fills me up. It just recharges me every time I see new artwork, every time the colors are coming in or the letters. It is the coolest thing to be able to do this stuff, And so Infernal Tides looks awesome. Max and I already have another project that we're doing. Last year we did a project for Comixology Originals. So it's a create-our-own book called Stone Star. Mm-hmm. It's a sci-fi adventure story. It's colorful and crazy. It's about a roving space station with a gladiatorial arena that goes from planet to planet, bringing danger and mystery. The first 5 issues we did last year, it went over really well. Comixology asked us to do 5 more, so we're in the middle of production on that now. It looks amazing because Max is drawing it and puts up with my insanity. If you haven't read it, please check it out. If you have Kindle Unlimited or Comixology Unlimited, it's free. All you got to do is just load it up on your tablet or your computer, and it's there waiting for you. Cool. So
that's super cool.
Good fun.
Well, thanks for coming by.
My absolute pleasure.
We got these sweet Infernal Tide issue 1s signed by your by you and by Max. Yeah, and they are in a stack on my desk at the office that nobody's in because we're not shipping out anything physical right now.
Right. But they will be there.
But we will be shipping them out, doing some kind of giveaway for them. to celebrate something else related to the Heroes of Baldur's Gate,
Awesome.
other than Krydle's socially isolated launch.
Well, hey, it is a great time to play Idle Champions and to play tons of D&D. So
Yeah,
use the social time well. Build fun stories and memories with your friends and family, and stay safe. That's really the key right now.
perfect. Anyways, always a pleasure to talk to you, Jim.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, week. Stay safe, stay isolated, stay healthy, and yeah, we'll hopefully chat with you soon.
That'd be wonderful. You too. Be good.
All right, cheers. Alrighty, switching over. Now it's time for me to invite Margaret. Where's my... Just gonna send ye old invite. So it's as helpful as it is that Zoom has changed its security, which is good because Zoom bombs are weird. It also wants me to confirm every time somebody joins the chat and some other stuff that's kind of wonky when you're live broadcasting. So bear with me. I see people are putting the ding dong hello Sean emojis to good use. Level 1 hype train. What is that? Oh, 94%. Oh man, we better get that. What the heck is a hype train? I don't even know. Huh, cool. Seattle, what game is in the Super Nintendo Entertainment System behind you? That would be The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past in that Super Nintendo. Yeah, one of the greatest games ever to be made. Best Zelda IMO? I think I would say it's my favorite. I really enjoyed Ocarina of Time, but alrighty, I'm gonna click the button, and it should just work.
Yay!
Yay! You're here. Hi.
Hi.
This is weird.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is your tavern, keeping it running for you.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I see the Witcher novels behind Dylan. I'm partway through the bottom one in that stack. I hope you're enjoying them. I am, yeah. That was one of the nice things about spending so much more time at home is I'm catching up on some reading. So I am halfway through the second book. They read fast. I'll probably be done all of them, in the next couple of weeks. They're good. The translation's a little strange sometimes, but whatever. That's what happens when you read something that's been translated. I don't read Polish, so... but they're good. I like them. It also makes me more excited for when the show returns.
Okay.
Alrighty. So there's a few questions I had skipped past.
But before, I have something cool.
Is that the auction that Eric won? One of the pages of Infernal Tides?
Yes.
Cool. That's super cool.
Got our favorite Delina at the bottom.
Yeah, everybody's favorite champion.
Yeah, everyone's favorite DPS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
cool. Make Margaret full screen? I can't with the way I have this set up currently. Sorry. Anyways, let's see. So this was the oldest question that I didn't get to answer because Jim and I were talking. One of the things that has really made a big difference for my various social groups is that D&D has been an honest lifesaver for those extroverts who are stuck inside. I am running 3 online campaigns, and I've had so many of them get in touch saying it's giving them that social and cathartic break to play, talk, and take out pandemic rage on zombies. I hear you, Incurus. I am currently DMing 2 campaigns for friends and family. As it stands, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so tired today is because that's what I did last night instead of resting. Was we were playing D&D, and then but it's cool. It's a great way I think to connect with people in general, but right now it's an awesome way to reconnect and engage with people. So
definitely, yeah.
Are you playing in any games right now, Margaret? Still?
I'm DMing Strahd.
Ooh.
So that's...
How far into it are your players?
They've just hit Valaki, if I'm saying that correctly, and
Valaki, yeah.
Valaki, yes, and they're now level 3.
Okay.
So yeah, still pretty fresh. But
I bet they can't mess that town up as badly as the Office Curse of Strahd group did, in which we
oh
all but burned that town to the ground.
geez,
Yeah, like in the times I've played D&D, I can think of few where we have messed things up as bad
Mhm.
as what we did there. To the point where when like we need refuge way like 5, 6, 7 levels later in the game, like where we're like we could go to Valaki, and we're like no, we really can't go back there. So yeah.
Yeah. To answer Sean's question, yes, they did do Death House because they were too squishy to be released otherwise.
Fair enough. We actually skipped Death House.
Oh.
I think we started at level 2, I want to say,
Okay.
and we skipped it and kind of we did like a homebrew quest before getting pulled into Barovia, and yeah, and then it's all been Adam's madness ever since.
Yeah.
And what are you drawing inspiration from for it? Like, is it like do you like horror movies? Do you read Lovecraft? Like, what's
Some Lovecraft, but also more like the classic Dracula, and then Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as well.
Okay.
Just like the creepy, but also like you're just, think about what you're doing. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Somebody in chat asked if your art director really does chase you with a pitchfork, or if that's a metaphor.
That's a metaphor in theory, considering the art director is Adam. He's also one of our DMs and is currently DMing, well, on pause, but the Office campaign I'm in. So I need to stay on his good side for several reasons, not just because he's the art director. But there has been a few requests for familiars as a coloring sheet, and they're quite small, so blowing them up and getting the detail would be quite a project, hence why I don't want the pitchforks. But maybe a call for like a menagerie of familiars could be a really cool sheet. Maybe. Chris, Adam, can I have resources, please?
I hit the button where I minimize the game. That makes the frame rate die. Fix that. Have it. Closing windows. Oh, interesting. Any chance of a pet package of just pets, not potions and chests, but just pets? So I think they're talking about familiars.
Yeah.
I don't think we currently have any plans to do anything like some sort of group of familiars all in one package, but it's an interesting idea. Somebody's asking what hat I'm wearing. I suspect.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to talk about this hat, but I'm going to start it by saying there is no hidden code related to this hat this week. So this is a Workhorse trail design hat. I don't know how many people here are into downhill mountain biking, but one of my oldest, closest friends is very well known for making downhill mountain biking trails. Like that's what he does. It's been his his side hobby for decades, that has turned into a career. It's what he's doing right now. He's even doing it right now because he basically works by himself out in the forest with like a cat. Anyways, his name is Bill. And if you look up Workhorse Trail Design on Instagram, I want to say it's like workhorse dot something, I forget. But he makes absolutely beautiful, freakishly well-made downhill mountain biking trails, to the point where like many world-class riders love his stuff.
Yes.
And he had a documentary filmed about him actually last year or the year before. That was on Pink Bike, and if you downhill mountain bike, you know what Pink Bike is. So that's what the hat is. It's my friend's company, and it was the hat that looked the most comfortable to wear right now. In that I was looking at, I have a shelf with hats on it, and I'm like, I just like some of them. I'm like, I'm not cleaning this hat so I can wear it once on stream. So this is the one that I put on.
Have you gotten a quarantine cut yet?
No. So I was actually, before this last haircut, I was talking about growing my hair out.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize that the haircut I was getting was going to be the last one I would get. So it's getting longer, but it was a short haircut with like a parting line and stuff before. So I don't know how well it'll grow out unless this lasts long enough that when I go to get my haircut next, it's already long. So we'll see. But yeah, hats for the short term. Yeah. Let's see. What was the next question? When will there be more things to spend gems on? I don't think we can give an exact ETA. I know that we plan to include more things that you can spend gems on, but there's no date we can give. It's just it's one of those things like we're aware that players want to spend gems on more things than just chests and the familiars that we have, and we'll get there. And then, somebody asking for more hints on the hidden code. Did you make a really hard one?
No, it wasn't that hard.
No.
It was related to Jim Zub's work.
Oh, did they figure it out?
No.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They'll get there. Alrighty.
It makes sense, I swear.
Somebody's asking if we slowed down the drop rate of event tokens, and we haven't. So hopefully, yeah. I mean, they tend to drop on average about one every 25 seconds. I think it is. Plus or minus a fraction of a second, because it's there's an algorithm that's in place so that if you close the game and reopen it, or if you're stuck in an area where you're not killing anything for a long period of time, that it will start to catch back up to where you're supposed to be, so you get close to exactly the same number of event tokens each time you have an event. So yeah. It's related to Jim Zub's work. Well, I don't actually know what the hidden code is because I didn't make it. And for once, Margaret has not already spoiled it.
And people aren't already in my head, which also happens.
Alrighty. Now that we are off interview time, any chances of getting more aquatic/amphibious familiars like a small turtle to go with Gromma? That sounds super cute. I'm going to pass that along to Dupuy.
But we've also had a request for a purple familiar.
A purple familiar?
Yeah.
We don't have one that's purple, do we?
No, we don't.
I wonder if we could get like a baby purple worm. Although even a baby purple worm would probably still be size large, now that I think about it, seeing as though they are gargantuan creatures. Anyways. Are there any plans to buff Krydle? That's an interesting question. So I think at this point, especially Krydle has been out for 26 hours and 17 minutes at this point. I don't think anybody has geared up their Krydle to the point where they really know how good he is. Now that being said, he's brand new. We're paying attention to him, and we're monitoring feedback. We are aware that some players think that he is categorically underpowered right now, but we're gonna wait a little bit to see if we need to make any adjustments.
Speaking of Krydle, can you talk to me about your Krydle formation here?
My Krydle formation? It's super rando. What's even here? Because I was talking to Jim, I wanted to make sure that all the heroes of Baldur's Gate were in here. And so this is like a really loose Delina DPS formation. And I don't know. I mean, I would be surprised if we progressed far enough during the stream for it to matter that I have a suboptimal formation.
Okay. Because Sean and I have a bit of a bet for Monday, where we will both have to post a formation to the formation channel on Discord, specifically for Krydle formation.
Oh yeah.
And they will be judged. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Krydle is a quirky one.
Yeah, the formation's weird.
He's dex based, but he only boosts the damage of people with too much or not enough charisma, basically, which is kind of strange. So yeah, I haven't really had much chance to play with him yet. I like the art though; he looks good.
Yeah, he looks super cool.
Yeah, and there's something very satisfying about.
This is not cheating. This is research.
having the
Key difference.
last member of the Heroes of Baldur's Gate. Did we fix his affiliation? Because last I checked, it didn't. Oh no, it says it now. Okay, good.
Yeah, we fixed it.
It's satisfying to have the group finished.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in a competitive spot. I mean,
yeah,
I tend to use Korth in 99% of my formations, and then in the other 1% I use Celeste. So we'll see if long term. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
There's also another rogue there, and Black Viper was a pretty epic DPS one. Oh god, I hit minimize again. Was a pretty fantastic DPS at one point, and is still good, but is just not competitive in the top tier meta. And he would be better for her, I think, because I think doesn't Black Viper have 18 charisma? Or no, maybe it's lower. Sorry, Minsk. 16. So yeah, I wouldn't work with her. Anywho. Almost hit minimize again. What was our next question? How much thought goes into each champion's achievement? Some of them are super grindy, some of them are pure luck, and some seem to be super cheesable, like Krydle's. That's a great question for Justin. Justin and Chris Dupuy, who kind of like they're designed one at a time, but they're also designed in a very strict confines. How much thought? I mean, I about the same amount of thought goes into each one, but keep in mind that we've got more than 50 characters added to the game as champions that we like experimenting, and we're going to try different stuff for the sake of trying different stuff so that we're not too repetitive each time. And that can lead to some of them being super difficult to accomplish. Like I remember when Dadius the Scarlet first came out, his achievement was extremely difficult to get, whereas some of them are super easy. So, yeah. Is Dylan only using 9 out of 10 slots? Yes. One of them is you can't really see. But
is my head in the way? Or?
I wouldn't say your head is in the way. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in my boy Krulk, who is so large that you'll see him anyways. Focus on pain. I'm just going to start changing this around now, because why not? But I'll keep Krydle. Sorry, Delina. I'm going to...
I feel like that's something that's often said.
No, I don't think people normally apologize.
Okay.
Alrighty. Hitch. Let's see about making a Krydle better. Morgaine. Let's go to Minsk. Bum, 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 bum. Champions front. Keep it simple.
Garwar has a question. Does the hidden code have symbols in it? No symbols. 16.
That would be mean. That would be really mean if you'd done that.
Well, the only time I'll put a symbol at the end of a hidden combination if it's an exclamation mark at the end. And it would only be one. I'm not evil.
He's a bear? My Tyrell's a bear? Oh, I probably... Yeah, okay. I know why. I don't know what I'm doing. This is a probably not very good attempt to make Krydle into a DPS that doesn't seem to be really working. Because isn't he going to buff Hitch more? What's Hitch's? Yeah, Hitch has got 17 charisma.
Sorry.
So pollen season is in full force now, and I've noticed that I'm just like sneezing a lot and getting scratchy in the throat, and just overall really enjoying it.
And it's totally the right thing to be sneezing a lot and being scratchy in the throat right now.
Yeah, people love it.
Yeah.
They all want to hang out with you. I guess Warden doesn't really have... Oh no, Warden does have charisma, but he's got like no intelligence. They've got no intelligence. Huh. I don't know, I'm going to have to mess around for a while thinking about how to use Krydle effectively. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, I'm going to leave this as is because I'm spending too much time doing that and not enough time talking. Welcome aboard. Started a month ago. Such an amazing community. Oh, cool.
Thank you for
Yes.
joining us.
Somebody, yeah, thank you for joining. Toko Shoran asks if familiars are something that is unlocked later on in the game. So, yes, in the sense that there are familiars that you can spend gems on, and we don't recommend that you spend gems on them until you have a bunch of loot, probably. But, I see they got your code.
Yeah.
But if you want, you can spend, the first, 11,000 gems on getting 2 of them. There are familiars you can buy. One of the ways you can support us as developers, or as a company, I should say, since neither Margaret nor I are developers.
No.
But one of the ways you can support us is by buying them, because that helps us still have jobs.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally familiars, like they aid gameplay, but they aren't something that I would consider essential or needed early on. Will you bring back birdsong for people who had difficulties getting it from a Twitch drop? Yes.
Yes.
Exactly how we do that is something that we're still putting together, just because, we recognize that we made it more challenging for players outside North America to get Barovian Witch birdsong. So anything that we do is going to attempt to address that.
Yes. And it's one of those, it's like there are a lot of people to collaborate with for the stream on Tuesday, so we don't always have the final word on time slots. So we're not setting out to be like, EU players can't do you.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We could totally throw Clive under the bus since he drives this train, but but we're not going to. No, it's there are a surprising number of pieces behind the scenes that all contribute to it, and something being a Twitch drop at a specific time as part of a stream. There are just a lot of pieces to that whole thing. There are a lot of constraints we had to work within in order to make this work. So we very much appreciate the feedback.
Yes,
we are listening to it, and we
are listening to the feedback.
I don't want to say we promise to make it easy for people to get birdsong, because that seems like, a way for me to get myself in trouble. But we are absolutely going to have other ways, at least one more way, for you to get birdsong if you have missed the stream. So, okay. Let's see. Being a bit dyslexic, I find these streams really helped. Seeing how the written stuff applies live made me understand and figure out stuff better. So thanks to you, Margaret and Dylan, for doing these. You're welcome. Alrighty. When will WebGL get a version to see all champions so it's easier to stop scrolling? That is an interesting question, Eogane. That's totally for Jacob, since Jacob is the master of all things WebGL.
I thought you pronounced that Owen.
Owen? Eogane? Well, it's spelled Eoghain. Is it Owen?
I thought it was like Celtic.
Is it an Irish or Celtic? Okay. Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Thankfully, I don't look Irish or Celtic. I can get away with that. But yeah. God, it's like there are some really challenging. Yep.
Like
Owen, yes,
Siobhan does not sound like the way it's spelled.
I remember working with a Siobhan, and somebody's like, "Who is Siobhan?" Because the way that her name was spelled. There are a lot of Irish names that are challenging too.
Saoirse, that's another tough one.
Yeah. Anywho, sorry about that, Owen. Eogane. I don't know, Eogane. So I read it and I think of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
At first, I'm like, Eogane. They're probably one of the relations to Eomer and Eowyn. That's where my brain went. Yeah. Happy to be wrong.
And I mean, it's like, if you go Lord of the Rings, then there are worse places to go.
Yep. Although, are there worse second books to read? Because I got to say, it might have been my favorite of the movies, but the second book was a slog.
I really like them all, but
That's a diplomatic answer. That's no fun.
well, the books over the movies at times, because I'm sorry, the extended cuts are really long. And
They are. Yeah. I found I only watched the extended cuts once each. Yeah.
there's almost
Just so that I'd watch them. And every time somebody proposes, like, we should do a Lord of the Rings marathon where we watch all the extended editions in a day, and I'm like, how about we just
can't
frickin' don't? Like,
sit
I would rather
still
do anything
that long.
else. I could
I
finish
can't.
the first book in that time easy. Like,
sit still that long. I
yeah.
just can't. No.
Although parts of it, because like, you know, the first scenes with Frodo are completely different in the extended edition than they are in the original theatrical cut, and like, there are parts of both that I prefer. So that's also an odd part.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's I can only handle so much. Oh, Sam. Oh, Mr. Frodo. Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Okay.
I don't know. I still feel like I can't carry your burden, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you was one of the best frickin' lines in that trilogy. And he just picks him up and just goes scales the volcano. Like, tears. Tom Bombadil was terrible. Yeah, Tom Bombadil is a bullshit character. I don't know what the heck he was doing there. Like, it's like he's there to like just show off the fact that he can put on the ring and nothing happens and he doesn't care. Like, yeah.
It's weird.
Anyways, probably shouldn't dive down that rabbit hole. All right, has it been said if Krydle's From the Shadows is meant to be positional or not?
Yes.
I believe it is meant to be positional.
Yes. That's what I understood.
That's what I read when Justin said something about it.
Yes. That was the thing. It was said.
Yeah. So I believe it is, in which case, good Lord, making a note here just in case. In which case, ding dong. Hello, Sean. Welcome to some tickets, if we're incorrect.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Revenge.
This one's for you, Margaret, and I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways.
Gosh.
Margaret, I keep asking Sean during Griddle Champions to do a karaoke face-off with you, and he is refusing. Can you try to make this happen?
I mean, I can try, but really you just need to shame Sean into this, because if he's game, then I am not down to let him win.
Oh, do you have a go-to song?
No. I don't know if we would do it like lip sync challenge, where it's like something that's completely unexpected, or what have you, but I don't want to let Sean win.
I mean, that's fair. I understand the competitiveness. I'm just like curious. I'm just now very curious. I'm like, what songs would they choose?
Or the thing is like, do we want to do like karaoke or like lip sync challenge? Because
I mean, so the thing about karaoke, at least, is that it might not get the Twitch VOD muted.
Yeah.
Whereas a lip sync thing will.
That's true.
Almost definitely.
It will likely be muted if Sean and I sing. This is the flip side. Well, I don't know about Sean's skills, but I don't think that me singing is going to drive any viewers. Like, drive them away.
Well, like, I don't know. It depends on how many times we put the notifications up.
Like, nope. Nope.
Yeah. Wyverny Win. Have you considered having a European-focused skin at some point? Both of the gym skins so far have been very US-centric in either location and or time. Yeah, and like the Yum Yum Hut Donar one was very much Australian-focused when we did that. So, you know, timing is something that we're we were already aware of and have become much more acutely aware of, given the feedback that we've had after we've done Twitch drops. So, yeah, it's something that we're keeping in mind. I feel like Krydle's illustration in the menu makes him look like he's miniature compared to the other humanoids. Could it be enlarged? Oh, I see. Because it's not as zoomed in. So, like, if I switch to the game only, he's just like,
He's just not as...
Yeah, he looks like he's like a puppet or something. Whereas there's like a great big Tyrrell head over here.
Right.
I don't know if that's something that we plan to address, but that is an interesting bit of feedback. I'm going to make a note of that for Dupuy and Adam to see if that's something that they want to address. Is there any plans to have formation abilities that can modify hero ability scores? There isn't a plan for that. That is certainly an area we could take hero abilities at some point in the future. But that is certainly not something that we are currently planning. Odd idea.
Yeah.
What more could one spend gems on? Skip level, buy a skin, unlock unique missions, pay potions, etc. So, I mean, the thing about gems, just to kind of, because this isn't a conversation where we can speculate too much, because it speaks to basically the economy of the game. Because gems are something that you earn for free, and that there are a few ways. There have been a couple purchases in the past or giveaways that have involved gems, but for the most part, it is a currency that is exclusively something that you earn in game. And so any change to how it functions and what it has access to has ramifications for all of the economy of the game, not just that part. So it's kind of like, basically what I'm saying is it's above our pay grade to really speculate too much about what we could do with gems. All I can say for sure is that we're taking the feedback, and that, yes, there will eventually be more gem familiars. But beyond that, not really anything we can say.
That's not our headache.
Is there going to be a way to buy skins and things you have missed? I know about time gates for skins, like those missed on the Twitch streams. So, yes. So there's one part of the game where you can already get things that you have missed, be it a weekend promo, a golden epic, or a skin that was part of a specific thing that no longer exists. Or a familiar that was part of a DLC that no longer exists, and that's in the wild offer system, which is totally random. Excuse me. And then in terms of some of the things that have been missed, so like the Rockstar Jim Dark Magic skin was an exclusive for PAX West 2019, as well as PAX South and PAX East 2020. And so that's going to get rolled into another part of the game. It'll probably start showing up in wild offers, but other opportunities to get it will exist. And then the Green Flame Gym was part of the Penny Arcade show on Tuesday, that was tied into their live show at PAX East, and all that stuff is kind of like it's still its contained thing, and it may show up again in the future, but we don't have any immediate plans for it or anything that we could share about it. And then the Barovian Witchbird song will definitely show up again as a way for players to get it outside of Twitch drops, but exactly how and when is still TBD, because we want to make sure that it is made more easily available to people in time zones outside North America.
Yeah. That also doesn't involve us streaming at 2 a.m.
Why do you have achievements that cannot be achieved, like E125 gold, level 1000, etc.? The only users that have it exploited a bug. Because you will eventually be able to achieve them. As we release new characters, as we release soft cap increases, and so on, players are able to progress further and further. It wasn't that long ago that, when our first events launched in 2017, when we did our first High Harvest Tide and our first Liar's Night and so on, getting to Area 175 as part of the third variant and completing it was something that not every player was able to do. It was difficult. And now it's kind of like, it's really not difficult. It's difficult for a new player, but for players who have lots of equipment and experience with the game, significantly less so. The game evolves and grows, and people are going to make it further and further and further. Hi, Dylan and Margaret. Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering if there was anything in the cards for community collaboration events, for example, like a boss that all players work together to defeat. So that's a multi-part question. I know you didn't intend it that way, but it's there's a bunch to that. So there's always a possibility for some sort of community-related event. That being said, something like what you're describing is an especially challenging thing to implement in a game like ours. We don't have multiplayer. We don't have ways for players to play with friends or anything like that. So, it'd be a purely singular thing, hypothetically, that everybody would be working towards. And it has been discussed, and it's kind of like it's on the table, but it's behind a list of many other things that we want to make sure that we get done first. So, So I guess my question to you, Jor Welshi, assuming I'm not butchering that name too, is what would you want it to be? What would you want to see? Because it's an idea, but is it something that even is doable?
Champion of Renown skins. If there will be, is there anything planned for longtime players to get the Champion of Renown skins if they already have all the champs and they don't want to buy the Champions of Renown packs? I can say that the Champions of Renown skins will appear in the Wild offers at some point, but not sure when that will happen.
Yeah, we may. I mean, we do retire DLC from time to time, and we do give notice on it. We'll probably give at least... God, we will probably give a month's notice, but don't quote me on that in the sense that things may change. It might be 3-4 weeks. I don't know. But we do give notice on retiring DLC packs, just because they can be quite cumbersome, and there can end up being a lot of them. But we hear you. I mean, the Champions of Renown packs are intended as a way for a new player who is interested in grabbing the most popular champions from a particular year of events. And when they grab them, they are all immediately playable with, high quality gear, shiny equipment. It's just it puts them in a position to be competitive with anything with the best of the stuff that you have. And so that's kind of like what they're intended for. It's not something that we intend to do on a regular basis. Was that trial available to those who play it through Armor Games? There seems to be a lot of bonuses for people who play on other platforms than Armor Games. Sorry, was which thing available? I know if you're talking about Twitch drops, so Twitch drops were only implemented for Steam users at first, and as long as you made sure to claim it to your account when linking your Idle Champions account to your Twitch, when your version of the game is able to do that, you'll still get it later. So I'm not sure if that's the question they were asking though. Well, this is a good question for the Chris's. Any information on updating the tutorial with all the new features that have been added to the game? This has been the source of much discussion. Because what is the best way to do that, as there are quite a few features that are now in Idle Champions that did not exist when the game initially launched in late August 2017 in early access. That was a while back. We certainly recognize that there are some things missing from it. But is iterating on the original tutorial what we should do? Or should we add additional tutorials? Should we change the way some of the information is displayed in the game? It's been a topic that is the source of a fair amount of debate on our end, that has a fair amount of analysis behind it at this point too. Exactly how we address it is not something that we're at a point where we can discuss publicly, but it is very much something on our minds, because it is it's just that thing that we know about that we haven't had a chance No, it's not analysis paralysis, Michael USA. It's more like we have very good insight into what points during the tutorial lose players, because we have the data. We track a ton of stuff behind the scenes for them. So we know that there are some problems with with parts of the tutorial, because it's just not quite as relevant as it was before. But then there are lots of things missing. There is no familiar tutorial. There is no blessings tutorial. There's no time gates tutorial. I mean, the interface itself has descriptions in it, and so our intent is that it's intuitive enough that when you go to use it, you can figure it out really easily. But certainly, it could use some assistance, and it's something that we would like to do. We're just not sure the way that we want to do it. It seems like a few people are against the drops. I like them. To me, drops are for the active people. Can you explain what you're trying the drops for? I mean, so we had the opportunity to be the first video game to use Twitch Drops 2.0. Twitch had done Twitch Drops previously. A number of other games had done them. And, we have lots of friends at Twitch. And they're like, hey, do you want to try this out? And I'm like, well, sure. And so we got to kind of pilot the second iteration of it. And we learned a lot while piloting it. Not the least of which was the drop window was too narrow for a lot of players, because it was just a couple of minutes, which isn't really enough time for somebody who finds out about it on Discord on their phone to download the Twitch app, pull it up, link their account, and click on it in the thing. So we learned a lot about it through that. But it was because we had that opportunity, and because we had that opportunity, it meant that we had to make things work for Twitch's schedule, because they're like, you can pilot it, but this is when you can pilot it. And they didn't tell us at the time. They're like, you can't do it the week after the one that we've given you, because another bigger company is doing something. And we're like, oh, okay. And that bigger company turned out to be Riot Games doing Valorant. It's which was the biggest
bigger fish than us.
That was the megalodon to our guppy. So, and so that it confined us to a very specific window, and and so our intent is not to make players feel like they're totally getting screwed because they have to go to work, or something prevents them from logging in at that exact time. It's merely an engagement thing where if you are tuned in to a lot of our stuff, and some players are tuned in to quite a few of our things. We have players who watch more than one or even two of the Idle Champions shows each week, which is awesome. Cool. Thank you. You're awesome. Heart you. But it's for people who are super engaged. So, but like I said, we got a lot of feedback about it, and we do want to make other ways for players who have jobs or who live outside North American time zones to easily get things like the Barovian Witchbird song. So, I thought about having Barovian Witchbird song in my formation, but I thought that might be kind of mean.
It is really close, Kindle.
All right. Yeah. Hi, Dylan and Margaret. Got a question.
Hello.
Is there a way to get the Killing Blow window visible on the Android tablet? I don't know that it is.
People.
I have no idea if that is actually possible. So I'm going to ping Erica and hope that she is able to poke a dev who is able to respond.
Enlighten us, please.
Yeah, because I have no idea. And of course, somebody's asking you if you got heavy stress.
Not yet. So I still have the hug chest from 2 weekends ago that I haven't opened, just in case it has the dress in it. So I don't want to At this point, I feel like I should open the dress on stream when I get it.
I mean, we could give you 100 Havilar chests, and then you could just
that's cheating. I don't want to do it like that. I don't want to do it like that. Sean threatens to do that to me all the time. On at least the basics.
Sean doesn't have the same amount of seniority as you. Just you can delete his account. I don't know. I got nothing.
Sean started before me.
Did he?
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe we just see him as below. No, I'm kidding. Ding dong. No, shots fired.
Oh.
Um,
Clearly, he's not in chat right now.
really? How many tickets does he have to deal with right now? I know there were a few because of some bugs. It happens.
Yep.
Oh, I'm a jerk.
Oh, D.
Heart you, Sean. Hey, obviously we love Sean. He's literally the only person who has emotes for our Twitch at this point.
Okay, but
literally nobody else has them.
But are those Sean emotes or Margaret emotes?
Margaret?
Margaret.
Margaret?
I have a name. That's my name.
While you were a part of that experience, the greatest experience in C&E Twitch gaming history, C&E games history.
Twitch clips, yeah.
You know, but when it has evolved into an emote, like, you know, it's not ding dong hello Margaret, it's ding dong hello Sean. So,
yeah.
You know,
I suppose.
Yeah, it has taken on a life of its own, and it has evolved beyond its creator. Is what has happened.
I've been usurped.
Yeah,
I'll have to, go on a quest, get 3 dragons, and claim back my throne.
Yeah. And we do need to come up with a few more C&E Games Twitch specific emotes. Emotes that are only for our Twitch. Yeah. And so we've deliberately shied away from using in-game icons or anything like that because we want stuff to be about our Twitch channel, not about one of our specific games. We're probably going to do a flip it one for flipping them Krydle champion portraits. But otherwise, we got a bunch of other shows. Yeah. We should do some more. So, yeah. Owen says Ding Dong is C&E Margaret and Hello Sean is for Sean.
That makes sense.
In a way. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. What purchase would you recommend for new players? I was looking at getting a year 1 hero pack. Your advice would be appreciated. That's a really challenging thing to answer. Not because we have a bias for the company or anything like that, so much as what a purchase means. Like what people find meaning in as a purchase varies wildly from person to person. I think the founders packs are categorically the best deals that we do. Period. Full stop. Like, we don't ever put them on sale, so they are always a safe purchase in the sense that you don't have to worry about a Steam sale popping up and it plummeting in price right after you got it or whatever, because we don't discount founders packs because the deal that they are is already bonkers high. Yeah. So that would be the one that I would recommend the most. Yeah. The Champions of Renown packs are... They are basically a way to unlock and fully deck out a bunch of characters from a year of the game, they're super super good. I mean, I don't know how much what do you call it, like hobby money or whatever you have, because they are our most pricey DLC packs. I mean, you get them, and every one of those champions will be very viable for you in your formations, because they will be fully equipped and rearing to go. So, but yeah, the Founders Pack is the one I recommend the most by far. Yeah. Perhaps playing the VOD of the respective event at a more EU-appropriate time zone could work. It would enable EU players to partake in some of the sort of event, while not giving them any more time than the American players. So the challenge with that is that Twitch drops, with the way that we have implemented them, because Twitch drops are designed to be tied to a game, so that when you achieve a milestone in a game, it activates a Twitch drop for a chat. And we do it differently in that we manually activate them for our shows. And so because we've done that, if you watch a VOD or you watch it at a different time, it won't work unless somebody manually hits the button. So, yeah. It's already almost 5-2. So.
Oh, wow. Questions.
I'm going to just tear through a few of these. When are we getting Dragonlance Heroes? I love Kryn. as much as the next person, and I've spent more time reading Dragonlance novels than I have Lord of the Rings or Forgotten Realms by a long shot. But the chances of characters coming from Kryn are slim, and the chances of named characters coming from Kryn, like Karaman or Raceland Majir or Tanis Half-Elven or any of those protagonists, are like almost non-existent. It's a cool thing in theory, and there's always the possibility that we could do something that very, very loosely alludes to Kryn or ties to that ties to it in some way. But yeah, sorry, no Dragonlance heroes likely to show up.
Unlikely.
And is there anything else I can answer quickly? Garwar. Wait, so if Krydle Champions gets an emote, does that mean Mars and I get one too? I mean, there's a chance, Garwar. We have a limited number of slots, but yeah. What kind of emote would be most helpful for you, I guess?
Do we need to sort out the title first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, untitled.
The untitled emote?
Yeah. Just untitled is just all it is. It just says untitled, or it's a blank box. I don't know.
Working title.
Yeah, had to be something clever for sure. Anyways, as it is 5 minutes to the hour, and I like to wrap it up just beforehand to make it real easy for the D&D mods to, transition and for other people to start their shows and so on and so forth. But also because I really need to go to the bathroom, and I could hold it a little longer, but I'd rather just not. So, thank you, all of you, for joining us today. It has been the Idle Champions show for Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, in the year of social isolation. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating, both in the Idle Champions Q&A, but also the Jim Zub conversation for the first half of the stream, where I know we talked very little about Krydle. But I mean, once you get Jim going about D&D, it's hard to get him to stop. But also, I did my best to try and make sure that we loop back to the questions that were asked. So yeah, shout out to Jim Zub for taking time out of his schedule to join us today for a chat. Shout out to Margaret for going into the office and setting up a call. Setting up joining the call to join me. This show exists because of a whole bunch of people. So we have our partners at D&D, Greg, Bart, Pelham, Allison, Shawling, and Lisa, who help us do a lot of things. And then we have co-producers. We have Erica and Sasha helping co-produce this show today. So take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy. And we will catch you tomorrow for Krydle Champions, 10 a.m.
Bye, everyone.
Rock on. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm just gonna I hit the wrong button. So they can still hear us, but that's fine. I changed the order of my slides because I made a new presentation today. And
oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyways, special thanks to Jim Zub, Dr. Bonnie Henry, of course, Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, Dungeons & Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, Erica, Sasha, the team at C&E, Idle Champions Community. Join us on the Discord.
And special thanks to you, Dylan.
Special thanks. No, don't thank me. Don't thank me.
Yes.
Don't
Too
thank
late.
me. No.
Too late.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. I'm turning it off now.
Okay.
Oh no, it's crashing. It's not letting me turn it off.
This is fun.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep hitting the button until eventually it dies. So it's kind of like beating a dead horse that won't die. Eventually it'll explode. But yeah, for now.